Good afternoon and welcome to Chat and Chew. This edition of Chat and Chew is another Foot Soldier interview. This program is brought to you by Black Belt Community Foundation as well as Center for Nonviolence Truth and Reconciliation. We do work with Kellogg, TRHT, which is Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation work, and Chat and Chew is a part of their work. So today, last week we had Mr. Albert Southall Sr. on, and this week we have Miss Joyce O'Neill on. And we're just going to be still talking in the vein of intergenerational conversation. So, Ms. Joyce, did you want to say a few words before we kind of jump into the interview?
I just want to say hello to you again, and I want to say thank you for this opportunity. Foot soldiers love telling their stories, and they also love activities that would help get out the vote.
Yes. So, just kind of jumping in, y'all, I have been really inspired by these interviews. Like, it's just amazing to me the knowledge that I've gained and just it's encouraged me. I went ahead and voted early because I was like, I'm just so excited. Let me go ahead and vote early. So I encourage people to vote early if you're not going to be able to vote on the Tuesdays, elections and stuff. So yeah, so jumping into the interview, the first question: what inspired you to be a part of the movement at a young age? Like, what inspired you outside of people discriminating against color and stuff? What really inspires you to be a part of the voting movement?
Well, I was a student at R.B. Hudson High School, and some of my classmates and schoolmates were already leaving school and going down to the churches to vote, to register, not to register, to march to the courthouse to ask for our parents to have the opportunity to vote. My mother was an eighth grade social studies teacher at R.B. Hudson High School and had not been allowed to vote. She had made 2 attempts to register, was given an asinine question each time she went, like recite the preamble to the Constitution,
Wow.
which she did because she required her students to learn it. They still stamped her application denied. Then the next time she went, she was asked to recite the entire Constitution. So you know what happened there. So by my mother being an educated woman, not having the opportunity to vote, inspired my sister and me to become active. And my mother agreed that we too could skip school and go down to march for their right to vote.
Wow. It's just so amazing how so many young people kind of just the movement. And a lot of them were kind of representing their parents that couldn't leave work and stuff. That's just amazing. Um,
Mm.
so what are some barriers? And you just kind of touched on it. What are some other things that you heard were barriers as to why people couldn't vote? Like I heard things about jelly beans in the jar, and just like you said, just reciting the Constitution. What were some more things that stopped people from voting?
Well, intimidation. Some people who worked on some jobs, they were told not to go down and try to
Mm,
register because they would be fired. And a lot of times, these people, like the maids and the butlers and the drivers, were working for white folk, and they were telling them if you would get in that mess, is the way they put it,
wow.
you will be fired. The literacy test, there was also a poll tax at the time. You couldn't just register, you had to pay a tax to vote. And a lot of African Americans at that time did not have the money.
Mm,
They were barely making ends meet. So they didn't have the money for a poll tax. So that was a barrier as well. And then the intimidation.
wow. So with that being said, what do you see as barriers now for people? Like what do you think stops people from voting now?
I think a lot of it now is apathy. And I hear a lot of younger people say that they don't see that there's a difference in the candidates, that
Mm,
none of them will actually help African Americans get the reparations that we deserve, that they're not going to do what they say they're going to do. And they look at those who have been elected in the past and they didn't fulfill all of their promises, election promises. All of those are barriers, but we have to realize that we still have to make a choice. And
Right.
sometimes it's a choice between the lesser of the evils, but we still have to make a choice by exercising our right to vote.
Right. And it's really when I listen to excuses of what people say, I didn't have a ride or like that, and I think back to the movement and how many people were involved and how many people fought for the right to vote, even young people that weren't even able to vote at that point. So when you were able to vote, how did you feel like when you were able to vote with no barriers, you didn't have to deal with a lot of discrimination?
Well, first thing, my mother always told us that on your birthday, and at that time it was 21, it wasn't 18. On your birthday, if it's not on a Saturday or a Sunday, you will register to vote.
Mm.
If it's on a Saturday or a Sunday, you will go on Monday to register to vote. So I was inspired by all that we had done and by how hard fought the right to vote, the win of that right to vote was. It wasn't easy. And how I didn't personally go to jail. My sister did, a lot of my classmates did, and they had a horrible time in jail. So when I was able to just walk in, sign my name, and get that voter card, it
Mm.
felt wonderful because I know my mother and my grandmother had not been able to do that until the voting rights bill passed.
Wow. So that was just kind of embedded in you that that's what you wanted to do because you were a part of it, before you were able to vote. And that's something I do young people listening. Even if you're not able to vote, be a part of things that are going on, issues that are going on. So when it's time for you to vote, that you have some kind of fire. You're excited about it. And also kind of following what you said, turn 18, follow what Miss Joyce said. Go register to vote. If it's on the weekend, go Monday and register because I mean the decisions that are being made now will affect us. Even if it's like, oh, it's not gonna affect me now, it's in the future, maybe 5, 10 years from now, it could affect us. So, we have to look at all of that. Another question that I had, with all that being said, what ways can we educate our community? Because I know a lot of people don't vote because they don't know how to vote or they don't know candidates. So they, like they say, well, why bother? I don't really know who's running. So what ways can we educate our community about voting and just getting out to vote?
I think we have to keep the same momentum we have going for this presidential election. There are all kinds of organizations out there with voter education programs, and I think in our local communities we have to continue that. Even when it's not a voting season, even if there's not an election coming up, why not have periodic voter education programs so
Right.
that you can teach people and you don't have to wait until it's time for them to vote to teach them? They'll already know what to do. Also, use our vehicles, our organizations. A lot of Greek letter organizations are really out there now, and it's because Kamala Harris has been nominated as the vice president,
Right.
run for vice president. So you got people out there who might ordinarily not be out there pushing a candidate. Use those same people when the next vote comes up, even if it's our local election. Because I say all the time, we don't pay enough attention to our local elections. We need
Right.
to vote in every election, but the people in our local areas, they govern us more than the president, more closely than the president. Our
Exactly.
governor, our mayor, those, it's important who's elected, and we have to make sure we help select the person that's going to govern us on every level, but keep the momentum going throughout the year. not just during voting time.
Right. And that accountability, once you pay attention to who you're voting for, then you can kind of follow up and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. You know, you can't really vote your opinion on people if you haven't voted. I learned that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I was voting in the county and, you know, I really couldn't say a lot of stuff about Selma because I'm like, I'm not even able to vote here yet. So when I switched over my address, I was like, now I can, you know, talk about issues, debate about issues. So you want
Right.
to hold a conversation with somebody and say, well, I voted for this person. This person is doing this. If that person isn't doing this, you know, you hold them accountable. So that is a big deal. So when you being a part of the movement and making sacrifices and you know leaving school just to push this movement, how do you feel not if not this election, if you saw like low voter turnout in the place?
I have down through the years seen, I've seen low voter turnout down through the years, and I felt, I wasn't angry, I just felt discouraged.
Right.
But I remember the first time Barack Obama ran, and I went to my polling place, and the line was so long.
Mm.
Fortunately, at that time, I was able to stand a lot longer than I can stand now because of back and knee pain. But I saw so many young Black men in the line waiting to vote, waiting
Mm.
patiently. And I mean, my heart just soared. I felt so good. I said, look, here we're out to vote. I'm hoping I will see the same thing. Well, I won't go to the polls because I voted yesterday, early voting. That
Okay.
made me feel good too. That's the first time I voted early voting. It's not the first time I voted absentee because I did it in the primary. But first time I went to the courthouse to vote uh, early voting, now they call it, but it's really absentee voting. So that made me feel good. I saw several people. We talked as we were filling out our ballots. We kind of helped each other. It was a good feeling. It was camaraderie among Black
Right.
for a good cause. I can't tell you how good I felt. And the couple that was in the room when I was in the room, we were at different tables, but we kind of helped each other, especially on the amendments, because I didn't have a sample ballot. They didn't either. But we came down on the elevator together, and they were still talking, and we were talking to each other, and we were happy that we had done what we needed to do as Black people to have a voice. Voting is about having a voice. It's not
Right.
just about casting a ballot, it's about having a voice in who will govern you. And if you can't say anything about what people do if you didn't
Mm.
vote in the first place.
Exactly. Exactly. That is so true because you know, and then you have people that get on Facebook and talk, and I'm like, take that to the polls, take those issues to the
Right. Hmm.
find a candidate that represents what you're fighting for, and you know, and vote. And it is something beautiful when we come together as a community and vote, especially in local elections.
Right.
Beautiful thing because it's so easy for us to do it now. And at the center, we do all these trainings that go down into like the trainings that the people had to do with the sit-ins, the
Hmm.
boycotts, like all of this stuff. And I'm like, it's so easy for us now to just walk in and vote because of the sacrifices like people like you made and other people made. So everything and that's what I say, the hard part has been done. We have the easy part, which is just going to register and vote. And yes, yes. So what are some personal, because I know you had personal commitments where you were a part of the movement at a young age. What are some personal commitments you have now around election time? Like, do you continuously call people? Do you post a lot? Do you, you know, to try to get people out and excited about voting?
I do post some, and primarily what I do is I have a sister that's 11 months older than I am, and she posts every day. So I share her posts because she does some beautiful posts about registering and about voting. I have joined Delta Sigma Theta's Vote Caravan through the city. I post the chapter's information on voting and participate that way. I was doing tours for Brown Chapel before COVID. And at the end of every tour, I said, I don't care where they came from, what state, what country, I said, it's important to vote because of what was done right here in this church.
Right.
What happened from the steps of this church and on the steps of this church is important to vote. I also do a lot of one-on-one talking, and I think that's something we have to encourage people to do. We have to encourage people to talk to people in your circle.
Right.
You know, it's fine to reach out to the broader crowd, but if we would do more of those people who are in our household or in our circle that because we're not out and about a whole lot now, but we're on the phone a lot.
Exactly.
And you
Yes.
ask your friends, have you voted?
Right.
I mean, even my friends, my age, have you voted? And I have to tell them, I went down to the courthouse yesterday. When are you going? I have a friend
Right.
in Chilton County, and she's younger than I am. And I told her, I said, look, I did absentee. You can do it too. You can do early voting. She lives in Chilton County. But I said, check out how you can do it at your courthouse or in your county and go do it. Tell your sons to go do it. Tell your daughters-in-law to go vote. That's what I do. Tell people, get up and go vote. Can't take them myself because I have some underlying conditions where I will not drive people. But in the past, I have driven people to the polls. I have worked when the Pan-Atlantic Council would set up a place, and we would man the phone lines for people to call in to get a ride to the polls. So, and I will continue to do all of that. When COVID is over, I will continue to do more person to person with people. But until then, I'm going to stay on the phone. I'm going to stay on Facebook. I'm going to stay on Instagram. Now, I lost my little sticker yesterday. I was going to put a picture up with my sticker on saying I voted, but you know what I'm going to do? Tonight, I've got to go to Montgomery. When I come back from Montgomery, I'm going to sit down and take a picture, FaceTime. I mean, what you call it? A selfie. And I'm going to say, you're looking at someone who voted yesterday at the courthouse. Any way possible, any means necessary, we need to use to get people out because we cannot afford to go through another 4 years of ignorance.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you still have a strong personal commitment like you did when you were young. It's just on a broader spectrum now since things have changed, social media, being able to text people, being able to just do a lot. And that's really important to have a personal commitment with this, even if it's something simple like door knocking or giving people rides, anything like that. So knowing what you know now, if you could meet your younger self, what would you tell her?
Every step you took is important, and every step you took 1965 and during your younger days led to this moment. Every step you took, every meeting you attended, every mass meeting, every youth meeting you attended led to this moment. Therefore, every step you continue to take will lead to a greater moment. Can't stop here. Can't stop here, feet. Can't stop moving. Although I'm not that young person anymore, to tell myself, you did some things back then that took you out of your comfort zone. Do some things now to take you out of your comfort zone.
Wow. That you just spoke to me on that. I took that personally. Yes. I mean that is true. Like, just forward and pushing yourself. That's the biggest thing, pushing yourself. Because everything and every situation is not not gonna be comfortable, and
Right.
everything is a growing opportunity. So that is so true. And Ms. Joyce, I just want to thank you for joining me today and just being so transparent and so real about your experience and how you feel, about voting, because I can tell the passion in the interview. So thank you so much for joining me today. We'll be back on Thursday at 3 o'clock with another Foot Soldier interview. Is there closing words or anything you want to say, Ms. Joyce?
I want to thank you for the opportunity. I was delighted when I got your text. I told you, foot soldiers like telling their stories. But I want to thank you for the opportunity, and I want to thank your opportunity, your organization, for what you all are doing to give us the opportunity to speak, which also gives us the opportunity to help put information out there, that we are not on the back burner because of our age and because we're foot soldiers. Um, we still have a lot to give, especially when it comes to urging people to vote and urging people to register to vote and urging people to be active and proactive in our government at all levels and in our world.
Yes, thank you so much again, Miss Joyce. And
Now, when is this going to air?
it should air. I'm gonna post it as soon as we get off.
Oh, really? On
Yes,
Facebook?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So
Okay.
you'll be able to share it and stuff.
Okay.
Honey, we'll see you again Thursday at 3 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you.